皆さん、こんにちは。今日はメダリストエピソード2を見ています。毎日日本語を勉強していますから、ちょっと日本語がわかります。日本語コメントも大丈夫です。毎週もっと頑張ります。見てくれてありがとうございました。What's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel and to another reaction video. Today we are reacting to Medalist episode 2. Now if anyone missed my first video, hi, my name is Hannah and I am a former figure skater. I competed for nearly 15 years and coached for 10 of those, and I actually started skating almost 22 years ago. So I like to say I know a thing or two about figure skating, which made this particular anime quite intriguing to me. Now I went into this completely blind. I did not do any research on it because I wanted to have a complete authentic reaction to it. I did not watch trailers, I did not look anything up, but I have recently found out that Akiko Suzuki is a choreographer, like she's in charge of the choreography for this anime, which is a really great sign, and also the first episode was very, very realistic with a lot of things that made me very emotional because it reminded me of my time as a figure skater. So far, I'm definitely a big fan of Inori. She seems to be very, very hardworking, and she wants to be able to be a competitive figure skater very much, but her mom is a little bit nervous about it because her older sister was a figure skater, ended up super injured, and had to completely stop. But now Inori wants to do it, and she seems to be very talented and was also able to work hard very much on her own. So Tsukasa is going to help out, and he has declared that he is going to train her up so that she can go to Japanese nationals. Very excited to see what happens next. I have loved the journey so far. So if you like this reaction, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts on today's reaction. And if you want early and unedited access to this reaction, you can join my Patreon at just $3 a month, and you will get that early and unedited access. But with that, let's get into it. This is going to take me back to my coaching days so much. I've told so many kids to stop flying while they skate. It's a workout having your arms out like this at all times and trying to keep them still. Strong. Although figure skaters are known for their arms being very weak compared to the rest of their bodies. Figure skating is so hard. It can be so difficult to make it look easy. That was a double loop, by the way. Sit spin with a feature of reaching forward to get a higher level. You have to work hard to get there. Badge test. Alright. A nice opening. That's how they do it in the United States too, which I would assume, while it's going to be a little bit different, it'll still be very similar. Yeah. And it decides what you compete, like what level you'll compete. I kind of wish we gave out little pins. When I was a coach, we gave out these badges that you had to like iron on to the jacket, so a lot of skaters would just frame them, which is what I did. When I was 6 is when I started skating, and I had a very similar reaction when I got a coach and she told me that we could start working on a program with music because I thought that was just like the coolest thing, and I tried so hard to be like the skaters I saw on TV and was so like, I'm ready to do this choreography. So just to see her reaction to that and being told that and remembering the excitement of being told that, I'm gonna cry a lot during this, okay? I'm just warning everyone now. Gotta have a villain in this story, right? Or this is just a fake out. Okay, then. This guy looks like bad news. Oh, we're not going to elaborate? Okay.
上の級はプログラムもテスト課題になっているからね。転んだジャンプ以外も回転が足りてなかったね。次回また頑張ってください。
Usually in a test, you fall once and you're probably not going to pass the test. Is that the girl from the opening sequence on TV? Yeah, I feel like this is the girl that was in that first. So this is an interesting contrast, and it's very realistic. When you meet Skater, so clear, I think she's the girl from the first sequence that was on TV, which means she's senior level. Like she's, unless in Japan they do show lower level competitions on TV, which it's very possible that they do. They don't in the States, so there is going to be that disconnect. As I don't know exactly how things work in Japan because I grew up doing skating in the States. But as far as I know, she's the one from TV. And what he just said of being like, if you don't know who we are, then you obviously are new or suck at skating. So I'm assuming he's very high level as well. And that can happen. So I found very often there was a definite mix. Not everyone is super mean in the world of skating. You make a lot of close friends, but the higher level you get, the more likely you are to run into people who are not very nice, but also run into people who are very kind. I got to meet quite a few very well-known skaters when I was competing. I got to meet Ashley Wagner, who is a very well-known U.S. figure skater who won the world silver medal back in 2016 multiple times, and she was very, very kind to me. But there were other skaters that I would see from afar or try to approach at times that were very standoffish, not necessarily mean, but standoffish. So there is definitely truth behind both of those. The sport can be very cutthroat, so some people that get high level can become very, very cocky, while some remain humble. It tends to depend on their upbringing and how rich their parents were, how talented they were, because skating's so expensive. So anyway, fun little anecdote there. She went worm hunting. It can mess with your head when someone treats you like that in skating. Figure skating is more than 50% mental. If you can't manage mentally, if something just really breaks you down, it can completely destroy you. So they're there to actually have her test. He's a natural coach. When you're a coach, you have to be able to manage being very kind and helping with their mental side, and also being strict when you need to be, because the sport requires a lot of hard work and discipline. So you have to really be able to manage both sides. You don't want to go too heavy on either side. It's also scary to compete and train and test at other rinks, because it can really throw you off, not having your regular, like, viewpoints. A lot of us need something very specific when we're nervous for skating. Okay, so she is actually testing. Apologize again for the pause. This is another thing that might just be very different in Japan, that I'm wondering if they can kind of skip levels. When I was coaching and when I was skating, and it might very well be slightly different now because I've been removed from the world for a little while and rules do change. When we were having someone test, they couldn't test higher than the levels that they were already at. But you usually can't, like, skip a whole lot, and you usually have to start at the beginning no matter how good you're at. That's how it was with me when it comes to a skater who's already working with a private coach and they're not, like, in a group lesson, which is a different route. Usually you start with a group class and then you gradually work your way into having a private coach, because that's so much more expensive. Or you usually still have to kind of work through the levels. You can't just skip ahead. So, but again, that's in the US. It could be very different in Japan. They might just have a lot more flexibility with where they just start out with. Or the rules might have changed here too. Who knows? We also didn't have to test with a program until much higher up. Like, you could do a double jump. And she's not doing a program, so that checks out. This seems like a fairly early on test. So it seems like they're having her do, like, the very first thing. Mm-hmm. I remember having to explain that to kids all the time, that they had to put their blade, their weight forward on their blade in order to go backwards, and they were always like, what? How does that work? I'm like, science. That's just the truth. Yay! Good job! Ganbatta! So that seemed like a very early on test, so I think that this checks out with, like, not really being able to skip way ahead. If they were having her already do a test with music, doing jumps, to me that wouldn't feel very realistic, because she would still need to start at the beginning and work her way to the top, no matter how good she is. She's telling her she has to stop in middle school. I don't know the ages in the schooling system in Japan. If she's 11 now, I'd assume that's just a couple years. And they're expensive, too. Moms in skating have no chill. That is pretty true. They judge. They sip on their coffee and judge. Not all of them, but a lot of them. I'm telling you, it's the girl. She's gonna go out and do, like, triple jumps. Hikaru. Yeah, clearly a well-known skater. Oh, that's, Ichinose-san. I actually got to briefly speak to her when she came here for a convention. She won the Novice B contest at Japanese Nationals. So, again, that could just be that in Japan they might show competitions on TV at that level. They don't here. You'd have to watch it on YouTube. I would not be surprised if it's much more visible in Japan because figure skating is much more popular in Japan than it is in the States as of right now. She's keeping up. She's trying hard. Looks like a triple Lutz. Lots of hard work. That's a whole new thing to teach. That's way harder to teach than how to skate forward. You can't just skip ahead to the jump she just did, Inori. You gotta work through everything. You gotta wait. It takes a while, Inori. But she was just given a time limit, so. I remember feeling that way for a while. It's also very hard. Not every skater is cut out to be a coach. Just knowing how to skate doesn't mean that you know how to teach it to someone. That's why not every figure skater goes into coaching when they finish competing. It's not for everybody. She's maybe homeschool? In America, a lot of skaters will homeschool so they can skate when they need to. But I know homeschooling is not really something that is done in Japan, so. Wonder what happened to her. It's every skater's dream. It's hard. It's hard to get there. Only about 0.01% of skaters will ever get to the Olympics. So next time you see a skater, don't ask them if they've gone to the Olympics or if they're going, because they probably are not. And it can sometimes hurt, because most of us want to.
Inori-san! レッスンない日だからいないかもと思ったけど、来てみてよ。これを開けてごらん。これ改めて合格おめでとう。いいスタート切れたね。次はいよいよジャンプだ。いや、コーチがまだ見習いの俺で申し訳ないけど、早く上達するように頑張るから。先生は私がもっと上手になりたいって言ったら手伝ってくれますか？私本当に上手くなりたいんです。他の全部の楽しいことできなくなってもいい。嫌いなこと難しいことをずっと長い間やることになってもいい。何がどんなに大変かわからないけど一番上手になりたい。金メダル取れる人になりたい。オリンピックでだから先生に手伝ってほしい。助けてほしい。
Do I know I'm crying? No.
分かった。あなたを誰が見てもスケートの天才だって思うくらい上手な選手にする。そして誰もが勝利にかけたくなるようなスケート選手にするよ。じゃあまずは1級合格からだ。まだジャンプも
You gotta start with the basics. So that was the Medalist episode 2. Okay, so I have a lot of thoughts. I tried to pause it as little as possible, but still get the point across because there was a lot of developments throughout this episode that were like very specifically figure skating. So I kind of touched on the testing structure, and I can't speak to that a whole lot just because I know that the testing structure in Japan is going to be very different from the testing structure of here. A lot of parents also do give their kids kind of that like time limit where you can skate until X, because the reality is, and this mom knows that, and I'm assuming this anime is going to push against that because this is an anime after all, but the reality is for 99.99% of skaters, it's not really going to lead into any type of like successful career outside of coaching or being in shows. The skaters that are the elite at the Olympics and at Worlds and on the Grand Prix is really a very small amount of skaters that can get there because it requires so much talent, time, and money to get there. At least in my country, everything is very expensive and there is no help with anything like government-wise. I know there are some countries, Russia comes to mind, where this kind of stuff is like state-funded. I don't really know exactly how it is in Japan. I think that once you maybe hit a certain level, they might help out with it. And that does kind of happen in the US. However, it is not nearly enough. So, and you have to get like very high level to get sponsorships. Like you already have to be at the senior level and doing well on TV to get sponsorships. So it can be very difficult. The sport is just not designed for success. Like honestly, I would like to see a change in that. I would really like to see there being more options to make it more accessible, especially in the US, just because it's like a dying sport in the US. And that's because it's one of the most expensive sports. And, you know, with especially the way the economy here is now, like it's nearly impossible. I had to take a break for 3 years from the time I was 13 till the time I was 16 because my parents could no longer afford it. And I was only able to start it back up when I got a job of my own and only skated when I could because I worked a part-time job and I could only afford like one lesson a week. And that's when I kind of started seeing like people 16 were doing triples and at the Olympics while I was doing a double Salchow if I could. So it's definitely a very realistic depiction of that world when that mom just kind of told her, I'll support you until middle school. But if, you know, I think that she kind of is giving her a time limit of when you can prove yourself or something along those lines. I don't know how far her sister got with levels, but you know, it's pretty clear that she got pretty far if she was doing hard enough jumps that she could get a career-ending injury from jumping. So I'm excited to see her start to learn the jumps. Obviously, she's not going to be able to do the jumps that Hikaru is doing because she did what I believe was a triple Lutz. They changed the angle, so I couldn't really count the rotations. It was definitely a Lutz. It was either a double or a triple, and you have to first learn waltz jump, Salchow, toe loop, flip, then Lutz is the last regular single jump you learn. And then you'd learn the axel, which is the big one. That is the first really big hard thing to get through because it's 1.5 rotations. And then you have to do all those jumps again, but doubles. Double Salchow, double toe loop, double flip, double Lutz, and then double axel. And then you can get to triples and so on and so forth. That's just how it works. It is nearly impossible to just accidentally do a double jump or a triple jump. I've never seen that happen. You have to start at the beginning and work your way to the end, no matter how talented you are. And usually the higher level you get, the more the hard work comes into play and the less the talent comes into play. So I'm really, really excited to see her journey and what's going to happen next. I really enjoyed this episode and I am continuing to really enjoy and see and looking forward to where this is going. So I'm going to end the video here, but thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you liked it, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. And also don't forget you can join my Patreon at $3 a month to get early and unedited access to these reactions. The link is in the description. You can also follow me on social media. I am at Hannah Malay on Instagram and at lookingnerdy on TikTok and X. But with that, thanks so much for watching. Matane!